All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to talk about something that is so critical, but honestly, most people have no idea about it. It's the 2 weeks right after a car accident here in Florida. See, a clock starts ticking the second that impact happens, and what you do or don't do in those first 14 days can literally change everything.
Think about it. 1 second, you're driving, listening to music, life is normal. The next, bam, your world just gets turned upside down. You're shaken up, you're trying to deal with the police, you're worried about your car. It is just so easy to feel completely and totally overwhelmed.
But here's the thing. Amidst all of that chaos, the single most important decision you're going to make, it doesn't happen at the scene of the accident. It happens in the hours and days that follow. And it's a decision most people don't even realize has a hard deadline. So let's dive right into the first hurdle, which is maybe the most dangerous one of all. This illusion, this idea that you're fine right after a crash.
The moment of that impact, your body goes into full-on fight-or-flight mode. Adrenaline just floods your system, and adrenaline is a heck of a painkiller, but it is also temporary. It can give you this completely false sense of security, making you think you walked away without a scratch.
And this is where the problem really starts. There's this huge gap between what you feel, the shock, the soreness, telling yourself I'm okay, and what's actually happening inside your body. The reality could be soft tissue damage, masked symptoms, basically a medical problem that's quietly brewing under the surface.
And listen, we are not talking about just a few bumps and bruises. Look at this list. We're talking about things like whiplash, concussions, even serious spinal disc injuries. The symptoms for this kind of stuff often don't show up right away. It might be a headache that starts a few days later, or a stiffness in your neck that just keeps getting worse and worse.
And this brings us to a really critical point. Why waiting to see a doctor is one of the absolute biggest mistakes you can make after a car accident in Florida.
And look, it's a totally human thing to do. You want to tough it out. Your life is already a mess. Your car is wrecked. You're dealing with insurance calls. The last thing you want is the hassle of going to an ER or making a doctor's appointment. You just want things to go back to normal.
But here's the catch. Florida law puts a very strict, very unforgiving deadline on that wait-and-see approach. This isn't just about your health anymore. It's about understanding the legal and financial system you've just been thrown into.
Yeah, that hesitation you feel, it runs headfirst into a hard deadline, Florida's 14-day rule. And this is the part that every single driver needs to know by heart.
14. That's it. That's the number that matters more than anything else. Under Florida law, you have exactly 14 days after a crash to get your initial medical care. Not 15 days, 14.
Now, why 14 days? Well, it is tied directly to your Personal Injury Protection Benefits, or PIP. This is that mandatory no-fault insurance that every single driver in Florida has to have. It's designed to cover your first medical bills and some lost wages, no matter who caused the accident.
And here is the absolute kicker. If you fail to see a doctor within that 14-day window, you could automatically lose up to $10,000 of your own insurance benefits that you pay for every single month.
And the consequences are just brutal. Your own insurance company can legally, and probably will, deny your medical claims under PIP. But you don't just lose the coverage, you basically hand the insurance company a perfect, gift-wrapped argument that your injuries weren't that serious in the first place.
So let's switch hats for a minute. Let's look at this from the other side of the table. How does an insurance company view your delay in getting treatment? This is their playbook.
This right here is such a critical distinction. A doctor sees a patient with symptoms that need to be treated. An insurance adjuster, they see a timeline. To them, a gap in time isn't just a delay, it is a giant hole in your story.
Because every single day that you wait to see a doctor is another day that gives the insurance company ammunition. It lets them create doubt about how legitimate your claim is and how serious your injuries really are.
And trust me, they are experts at building a whole story around that doubt. They'll argue things like, well, if you were really hurt, you would have gone to the doctor sooner, or how do we know your back pain didn't come from something else you did a week after the accident? They know exactly how to use that delay against you.
So, knowing all this, knowing the risks, the deadline, and the insurance company's game, what do you do? How do you actually protect your health and your rights? What's the action plan?
Well, it really boils down to a simple 3-step plan to take back control. First, and this is the big one, get a medical evaluation within those 14 days, even if you think you feel fine. Second, document everything, and I mean everything. And third, know your rights. Don't admit fault, and don't sign anything until you understand what it means.
And that first step is the most important takeaway here. Getting checked out by a doctor isn't about being dramatic. It's about creating a clear, indisputable paper trail. It establishes a professional record of your condition right after the accident, and that becomes the rock-solid foundation for everything else that comes next. Look, after a crash, the whole system can feel so cold and impersonal. But by acting quickly and acting smart within those first 14 days, you take control of your own story. You make sure your voice is heard, your health comes first, and your right to recovery is protected right from the very beginning.